Cool. And then one a related question for Justin. Justin, I know as far as I'm aware, this is the first race that you guys have announced for Project 91 this year. Do you guys have any other plans in the works to either run Elio or someone else this year? And what would make how I guess how would it make sense for you guys to run Elio either at another race this year or potentially another Daytona 500 in the future?
Well, yeah, well, I think there's always plans. I mean, I still have a list of drivers. I still have a list of tracks that I want to go to. I've got a list of all kinds of, crazy things I'd love to see happen on the racetrack more than anything, just as a race fan, just to, do things, put cars and drivers on the racetrack that I would love to watch just as a race fan. So, there's a lot of things that we want to do, but you know, when you but when you really look at it, it comes down to, resources, people, bandwidth. I mean, we have to take a real look at workflow. And, we've got three cars that we're going to be competing with this year to try to get into the playoffs full time in the Cup Series. And that is really the priority of the company. And so when it comes to kind of the future of Project 91 and how we view that program, it really has to fit around competitive and effective workflow for our three full-time cars. And so, it's no small feat to take a fourth car to the Daytona 500. That requires a lot of preparation. You have to prepare that car right in the middle of preparing three other teams for the entire season. So it's a lot of work. And so in that context, we really just have to take it one race at a time. And right now we're 100% focused on the Daytona 500 with Elio. But I would say that, anything can happen. I mean, we had one race planned for SVG at Chicago, and that turned into a full-time program in the Cup Series with him this year. So really, anything is possible. But the focus really is what's just right in front of us, and that's preparing, really really fast race car for Elio. So we've got good one lap speed and got some good speed on the board going into the duels, and having a good dual race, and getting the car in the 500 and then go racing and try to make something special happen. But big dreams for Project 91, big long-term plans. But we have to focus one race at a time to make sure that the cars we bring to the racetrack are very, very competitive. First and foremost, have an opportunity to win the race.
I know you've spent a good amount of time around Elio and around Meyershank Racing and around IndyCar, the sport in general. And you've talked before about hopes and aspirations of one day running in IndyCar. If it makes sense, where would you say that dream or that goal is at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, still very much there. The Indianapolis 500 is, it's just one of the most special races in the world. And as Trackhouse grows and expands, obviously, we've expanded to the MotoGP World Championship, and we're constantly looking at opportunities to grow and scale the brand into new areas that are compelling and exciting. And the Indianapolis 500 is right up there. I mean, my love for racing started at going to dirt tracks in Illinois and Iowa with my grandfather. But in 1995, my father took me to the Indianapolis 500, and I sat up there in the grandstands and watched Jacques Villeneuve win the race, and was so moved and so captivated by the Indianapolis 500. And it was really that moment that I knew that the racetrack was going to be home for me in some capacity my entire life. And the Indianapolis 500 really cemented the passion for motorsports that I had, and put me on a path to start thinking about it as a career. And so I've every year for the last 5 or 6 years, I've gone to a practice day at the Indy 500, and sat on the pit box and talked to the drivers and watched the cars going around the racetrack, because it's such an incredible experience just being there and watching. And so it is certainly a dream of mine to have Trackhouse represented in that race. There are continuing discussions. It's no small feat. It's something that we've looked at as a company for a number of years, and I think when the time is right, we'll take a real hard look at it. I mean, obviously we won't be competing in the race in 2025, but there are discussions ongoing about how to make something like that happen. So it's very high on my personal list. And then I got to get sort of the business and commercial and partnerships and all that kind of worked out to figure out how to do it in a, a meaningful and competitive way. So I don't think that the Trackhouse story will ever be complete without us competing in the world's greatest open wheel race.